Some deathbed confessions cling to you like a shadow you can't shake. I was volunteering at a hospice when a man with severe dementia unraveled a nightmare. Moments before he passed, his mind dragged him back to Vietnam, where he was drafted. He mistook me and another volunteer for his old war buddies, his eyes distant yet sharp. In a voice chillingly calm, he described a murder that haunted him. Back from the war, he and his comrades killed a man and his entire family. It was meant to be just the man, but chaos took over. The wife, her parents, they all ended up dead in a brutal spiral. His tone was calculated, not a hint of panic, as if he were reciting a plan. He ignored every word we said, locked in that blood-soaked memory. Mid-sentence, detailing how they hid the bodies, he snapped back to himself. Then silence. He refused to speak again to anyone. He slipped away just before dinner, leaving that horror lingering in the air. When I was 16, my grandfather's final words broke something in me. He looked at me, frail and fading, and apologized for what he did to my mother. The abuse she endured as a child was a secret he thought I'd forgive. It shattered me that he'd lay that burden on me in his final moments. Had my mom told me before? Yes, she had, in fragments. We rarely spoke of it. My family buries trauma like it's a shameful heirloom. That confession still twists in my gut, a wound that never heals. A nurse once shared a story that chilled me to the core. An old man, a World War II veteran, confessed to a betrayal beyond forgiveness. He sabotaged his brother's parachute because they loved the same woman. His brother plummeted to his death, but the woman chose someone else. Every day of his life, guilt gnawed at him like a relentless predator. My family has its own dark echo of this tale. Not brothers, not wartime, but my grandfather died on a jump when both chutes failed. His best friend, the safety officer, was the last to check the gear. 9 months later, my grandma gave birth to my aunt, fathered by that friend. Whispers in our family say it was no accident, and the truth is buried with them. An 80-year-old patient, his body failing, poured out a heart-wrenching truth. As his wife lay dying, she admitted to decades of affairs over their 60-year marriage. She didn't stop there. She said she never loved him and his only son wasn't his. I was wheeling him to the ER, knowing he had mere months left. He shared his shattered heart with me, a stranger, as if I could carry it for him. That betrayal haunts me still. She could have let him die in peace. Instead, she broke him, leaving him an emotionally hollow shell. I see his face every time I think of that story, etched with unbearable pain. My grandmother's deathbed confession tore my family's foundation apart. She told my grandfather and my mom that mom wasn't his biological daughter. She spoke of affairs, weaving a tale of betrayal that cut deep. They were so close, and this revelation crushed them both. Years later, I took a DNA test, and the results were undeniable. My grandfather was 100% my mom's father, no question. But he died never knowing the truth, carrying that wound to his grave. Did my grandmother believe her lie, or was she just stirring up pain? My mom thinks she knew the truth and wanted to hurt them one last time. The cruelty of it still stings, like a wound that won't close. My great-grandfather returned from World War I to a hero's welcome. But something was wrong. His 13-year-old sister wasn't at the celebration. He found her in the worst moment, being assaulted by a neighbor. He ripped the man off her and sent her to their mother for safety. On her deathbed, my grandma revealed a chilling secret. She hid his bloody clothes that night, buried them in the front yard. Where those clothes lie, a patch of irises blooms with eerie beauty. Did he beat the man or kill him? No one knows. The body, if it was there, is long gone, swallowed by time. My great-grandfather was a monster, terrorizing my great-grandmother. She was a tiny Aboriginal woman, weakened by polio, defenseless in the 1930s. He beat her relentlessly, a Scottish man who left his family behind. One night, her brother, Uncle Fred, took him for a drive. He never came back. She told everyone he ran off to join the merchant sailors. But on her deathbed, she whispered the truth: Uncle Fred killed him. His body lies buried in the local cemetery, unmarked. My dad used to joke his granddad was now a driveway when we visited graves. That dark humor hid a truth too heavy for us to carry. I watched a video of an elderly woman in Alaska, her voice steady and unrepentant. She spoke of her abusive husband in Tennessee, a man who tormented her for years. She planned his death with cold precision, biding her time for months. One day, she asked him to fix something high in the barn. She hid rakes under the hay, then pushed the ladder. He fell, impaled, and died in agony. The police in the 1940s or 50s ruled it an accident. She fled to Alaska, where she lived a long, joyful life, free at last. Her story wasn't one of regret, it was one of triumph. Nurses in palliative care say these confessions aren't rare. Elderly women, facing death, often admit to killing abusive husbands. Some even help their mothers end their fathers' tyranny. They speak with no remorse, only relief, as if unburdening a victory. One woman shared how her mom taught her the skill, just in case. The weight of survival in those stories is both chilling and inspiring. My great-grandmother's deathbed secret shook my grandma to her core. She confessed to an affair with a Cherokee man, claiming my grandma was his. My grandma always suspected, proudly embracing her supposed heritage. But a DNA test years later showed no Native American blood. We never told her. It felt kinder to let her keep that piece of herself. Some secrets are better left undisturbed, even if they're lies. At 17, my grandmother's confession hit me like a freight train. Her oldest brother was born of incest, her father assaulting her mother at 14. I said I couldn't have raised that child. She said she had no choice, her voice heavy with decades of pain. That truth terrified me, and it still echoes in my nightmares. I cared for an elderly man, over 80, whose crude demeanor hid a darker past. One evening, on the anniversary of losing his family, he broke down. As a teen, he assaulted his little sister. When she told, he strangled her and buried her by a roadside sign. He described her dress, the grief that destroyed his parents, his father's rage. Was it a false memory twisted by dementia, or the truth behind his isolation? His words felt too raw, too real, to be a delusion. He died weeks later, leaving me to wrestle with that haunting confession. Near the end of my mom's life, she asked, "Where are my boys?" My twin and I thought she meant us, her girls, and said we were there. After she passed, a private investigator called, looking for her. They represented a client searching for their biological mother. I thought it was a scam at first, grief clouding my judgment. But the details they knew about Mom's life were too precise. She'd had 2 sons before marrying our dad, one from her hometown, one from Japan. Her life before him was a mystery, and her sister's Alzheimer's hid the rest. We met them, our half-brothers. One looked like my older brother, the other resembled Mom in her youth. Our family shrank with her death, but grew again with their arrival. My grandma confessed to my sister and me that our uncle wasn't Grandpa's son. She was raped by her brother-in-law's brother before meeting Grandpa. He raised our uncle as his own, never caring about blood. She begged us to keep it secret, and we have, until now. The weight of that truth still sits heavy, a silent bond between us. My grandma told us her dad and uncles killed a man who raped her. She waited until they'd all passed to share the story. It's not unique. Back then, without modern tech, such justice was common. But another relative's story was darker. She falsely accused a man of rape because he was gay. Her father and uncle shot him in the woods, and she felt no guilt. Her only regret was her uncle's suicide, unable to bear the trauma. As an MRI tech aide, I met a big Italian man, early 70s, with early dementia. He was kind, chatty, but his words took a dark turn one day. On the way back from an MRI, he said he was the guy his buddies called to take care of business. I laughed it off, thinking it was dementia talking. But back in his room, with his kids and their spouses there, he repeated it. I was just telling this young man how I handled business back in the day. The room went silent, 6 faces turning somber, staring at me. I mumbled a cheerful goodbye and never spoke of it again. His name might have been Fabrizio Fallion. It's hazy, 17 years later. My mom's death left me a letter that turned my world upside down. She wrote that I was adopted, after I'd asked for years and been told no. Everyone who knew my parents seemed to know, except me. It crushed me, finding out like that, a final blow after her death. If you've adopted a child, tell them early, don't let them learn from a letter. My parents thought hiding it protected me, a Southern pride thing. I don't resent them now, they're gone, and it changes nothing. But it was a cruel choice, one that still stings deep. A dementia patient I cared for couldn't stop reliving a night from the 1950s. He and his friends beat a man, took his wallet, and left him broken. His voice wasn't anxious, like most dementia stories, it was steady, regretful. The details never wavered, too clean for a confused mind. I'm convinced it was a racial hate crime, the timing and tone undeniable. He wasn't a bad man, loved by his Midwestern family, but he carried that night. As a nurse, I've seen dementia's tricks, but this was different. He needed to tell someone, to unburden his soul after 60 years. I still remember his room, his face, his voice. It spooked me like nothing else. A man on hospice for cancer called his kids to his side before he died. He confessed to killing their mother, who he'd reported missing 30 years ago. He planned it meticulously, killed her while she was on a trip, rented a wood chipper. He dismembered her, fed her remains into a stream on their property. Then he burned the chipper, claimed insurance, and reported her missing. The kids had no idea, the perfect crime until his confession. I was a new cop, manning the crime scene log after they reported it. No evidence was found, but the silence at that scene was deafening. Was it guilt? A need for closure? Or just a final twist of the knife? We'll never know why he chose to tell them. We thought my granny was dying, and we gathered to say goodbye. She kept fretting over me, single and not getting any sex. Even at death's door, her priorities were wild. She passed a couple of years ago, and yes, I'm still single. Her quirky concern still makes me laugh, a light moment in the darkness. I heard of a sweet old man, late 80s, the kind who baked cookies for neighbors. Church-going, grandpa vibes, everyone adored him. But on his deathbed, he looked his daughter in the eyes and dropped a bomb. "I'm not who you think I am," he said. He'd lived a double life, with another family 2 towns over. A second wife, kids, birthdays, holidays. For 40 years, neither family knew. That secret unraveled everything his daughter thought she knew. When I was 10, my grandfather lay dying from cirrhosis, a functioning alcoholic. He looked skeletal, a shadow of the man I loved. Alone with him, he gripped my hand and shared a gruesome tale. His father, my great-grandfather, killed 4 men with an ice pick. They'd raped a black girl, and the law did nothing. He described the murders in gory detail, bordering on torture. I was too young to grasp it, but the horror stuck, a mental scar. Years later, my mom confirmed it in gentler terms. My great-grandfather and his brother may have been vigilantes, or serial killers. They targeted KKK members across Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, maybe 25 in all. He was on heavy pain meds, half aware, talking as if I were someone else. His hands, all bones and wrinkles, felt fragile yet heavy with truth. That one-way conversation haunts me, its ghosts lingering 35 years later. My mom and grandmother were estranged, their visits always tense. Mom tried for my sake, wanting me to have a grandmother's love. But something was off, details trickling out over years. On her deathbed, my grandmother told me, "Tell your mom I always loved her despite everything." It felt odd. Why say that? I held off telling Mom, sensing her grief. Years later, she revealed the truth. At 5, my grandmother tried to run her over. She'd learned her affair partner was molesting Mom and wanted her gone. A neighbor stopped it, and Mom was sent overseas to safety. But when she returned, her mother got custody. Mom ran away, became homeless, got pregnant young by an older man. She had a secret sister I never knew about. When I shared Grandma's words, Mom just said, she had a strange way of showing it. My mother was a force, surviving unimaginable pain. She died at 63, leaving stories untold, a loss I carry every day.